Greetings and welcome to the latest edition of the Entheogenic Evolution podcast. As always, I am your host, Martin, and I'm very happy to have you with me today. As mentioned in a couple podcast episodes ago, we are going to be continuing with Tales of Aurduin here on the Entheogenic Evolution podcast, and I will be sharing chapters from the third book in the series, The Alchemist and the Eagle. But before we get into that, I thought that I would share with you something that is intentionally supposed to be fun, a little bit cheeky, a little bit quirky, and I thought it would just be a nice little interlude in between the rather long stories that comprise the Tales of Aurduin series. So what I have for you today is part one of my rather short audiobook, God's Handbook for Operating Human Vehicles, a no-nonsense, no-strings-attached approach to universal being. So it's a pretty short audiobook. It's only about 2 hours long. It is definitely quirky. It is supposed to be quirky. And I've broken it up into two parts. So I've got part one for you today, and we will have part two coming in after the next interview. And then we'll transition on to The Alchemist and the Eagle. Don't really have a lot of announcements for this week, other than just to remind you, if you'd like to support this podcast, please consider joining up as a supporting patron over at my Patreon page at patreon.com/MartinWBall. You can always sign up as a free member, but it's always great to get a little support from my listeners. There's everything from $1 a month all the way up to $100 a month, which also gets you a 1-hour monthly video call check-in with me. And of course, as a standard reminder, I'm always available for 30, 60, or 90-minute video calls. Stop by at non-dual-entheogenicintegration.com or martinball.net for more details and information, or just reach out at martinwball@gmail.com and we can set up a time to have a conversation to help you integrate your experience. Okay, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into part one of God's Handbook. Hope you enjoyed this. It's also available as a small art book. That's how I originally put this out. So it has some text and it has my very early fractal digital art from 2012. So my art has changed quite a bit since then. But this was my first little art book that I put out with some of my digital artwork. So anyway, here's the audiobook. Hope you enjoy. And don't take it too seriously, but, seriously. God's Handbook for Operating Human Vehicles. A no-nonsense, no-strings-attached approach to universal being. As read by the author, Martin W. Ball, Ph.D. God's Handbook for Operating Human Vehicles. A no-nonsense, no-strings-attached approach to universal being. Congratulations on your embodiment in a human vehicle. This handbook will share some of the basic guidelines for smooth operation of your vehicle, help you maximize your time in the body, and increase your personal satisfaction with your ongoing reality experience. No refunds, no exchanges, no upgrades. Remember, your personal experience in a human vehicle is limited to that body's lifetime. So don't delay and make the most of your human experience today. Musical interlude number 1. A breath of fresh air.
Yo.
It's like a breath of fresh air.
Well, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome. All systems are a go.
Yo.
All systems are a go.
Yo.
Forward, please.
Gosh, that's swell.
Forward, please.
Gosh, that's swell.
Yo.
Hello and welcome.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome.
Yo. Yo.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
Boy, was my face red. welcome.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome.
Yo,
Dance like there's no tomorrow.
yo. Yo. Yo, yo. Yo. Yo.
We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Yo.
Evidently.
Yo. 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 Yo.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Please listen carefully.
Yo. Yo.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Evidently.
Yo. 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 Yo.
Yeah.
But now,
A moment of silence.
Introduction. Hey God, it's God here. Writing this from me to me, or me to you, or you to me, or you to you. Pronouns. Tricky little buggers, especially when we're dealing with the genuine nature of reality. The point is, I'm you and you're me. That makes us one and the same. However, curiously, we seem to find ourselves in different bodies, which is why you probably don't remember writing yourself this handbook, seeing as how the body you're using to read this isn't the body you used to write it. Confusing? Not in the least. That's just how it works. One being, many, many bodies. So, if you're reading this, you've probably got some insights into how this whole crazy reality works. But you probably also still have some nagging questions, lingering doubts, and some subtle or not so subtle points of confusion that could use a little clarification. And that's exactly why you wrote this handbook, to help out other versions of yourself along in the exciting and dynamic journey of life. Thus, you've put together this little guide. It's just an operator's handbook, so it won't provide all the answers. And it certainly won't ever tell you what to do because, hey, you're God and you can do what you want. However, it will lay out some of the basic functional parameters of your human vehicle for you, along with some points to keep in mind for how your vehicle functions in its ongoing task of navigating reality. It will also spell out some of the potential pitfalls that your ego might produce for you and how to deal with such issues when they arise. What you'll find is that when used properly, the human body is the number one vehicle for enjoying reality. It's top of the line, high luxury, and the latest and the greatest. 14 billion years in the evolutionary making, there is currently no model upgrade available. Nope. There just ain't nothing finer than a good old human body to enjoy the reality playground in. And this is a guidebook to help you enjoy it and make the most of the time you've got. Reality check number 1. You might find yourself saying at this point, really? I'm God? I can do anything I want? Really? Yes, really. But here's the deal. Since you're operating a human vehicle, this fact means that the whatever I want bit is limited to what is possible within the human form. Keep in mind that the human form is informed by all of reality, so all the normal rules of reality apply equally to the human vehicle. Just because you're God doesn't mean that you can violate the rules you yourself established in order for it to be possible for human vehicles to exist. It takes all the laws of physics and the physical evolution of the universe up until this very moment right now in order for you to be here and enjoy yourself from the perspective of your human vehicle. This tends to be a tough sticking point for the human ego to accept. And this is due to the fact that the human ego has a very distorted idea of who and what God is and what God can do. Most egos are in serious need of continual reality checks. We'll spend some time discussing the ego shortly, but first, an example. Most egos are afraid of dying. Because of this fear and anxiety, egos invest a great deal of energy into attempting to escape or avoid the physical death of the body. Indeed, even a cursory glance at human-invented religions and spiritualities reveals that this is a fairly fundamental issue for human egos, as virtually all religions point to some kind of idea of personal immortality, transcendence from death, repeated reincarnations, resurrection, and all kinds of similar, yet totally fictitious notions. However, as God, you know full well that this is all just silly ego games and projections. It's only the ego, the illusory sense of self, that wants to live forever with its identity intact. You know that such an idea is as absurd as an actor insisting that the character he's playing in a movie should live forever. The truth is, you don't want individual bodies or identities to live forever, as that would make evolution impossible, and it's evolution that produced the human vehicle in the first place. Despite being God, you can't just snap your fingers and make something from nothing. It takes time, transformation, and the inevitable impermanence of all physical forms in order for the human vehicle to evolve. Any identity and awareness associated with any particular human vehicle is a temporary configuration of energy, and there is no such thing as personal immortality. It's only the ego that may want that. Since you set the whole thing in motion, you made the rules according to what you want for yourself, and you can't undo decisions that you've already made or undo energetic realities that are necessary for bodies to exist. So, in that sense, what confused egos want is completely and totally irrelevant when it comes to making authentic choices in reality. Your ego can want personal immortality as much as it likes, but that won't ever make it reality. Fortunately, you know better than that. You know that ideas of personal immortality are illusions, so you don't waste your time trying to exert your will against an unsolvable problem or issue. You're in the business of keeping it real. So, you accept the life that you find yourself in, and you exert your will to make the best of what's presented to you, working realistically within the bounds of the greater reality that is also you, not just your human vehicle. Attempting to violate reality is attempting to violate yourself, and that's just something that can't be done. To have the most satisfactory experience in your human vehicle, you'll want to get clear on what's realistic for that vehicle and make your choices accordingly. To give another simple example, you may want to breathe underwater like a fish, but no amount of saying, "I'm God and I can do what I want," will make that so unless you undertake the common sense approach of getting some scuba gear or find some other technological solution to the problem. Yes, you can do whatever you want, but only insofar as your choices coincide with what is real. Otherwise, you're lost in illusion and fantasy. That's fine for when you're a child, but as an adult, you'll probably find illusion and fantasy unsatisfying and endlessly frustrating, other than as entertainment. Speaking of entertainment, aren't TV and movies great? Humans are so clever. In order to have a more realistic understanding of what possibilities present themselves to you through the medium of your human vehicle, let's get to know this top-of-the-line model a little better. We still haven't discussed the ego, but for now, let's just start off by acknowledging that the human ego is profoundly confused, and there's no doubt whatsoever that you've been exposed to massive amounts of its confusion, both internally in your own private mind and externally through the constant barrages of nonsense from other egos and other human bodies. Before we turn to the amusing antics of the ego, let's get another reality check out of the way. Reality check. The human vehicle is the most sophisticated vehicle that has yet evolved here on beautiful planet Earth. This is not a value judgment, an opinion, or a statement of human hubris. It is simply reality. As a vehicle for your expression, nothing beats a human vehicle. Now, many human egos want to pretend that humans are low, debased, sinful, ignorant, etc., etc., etc. But really, these are just statements about the human ego. From the perspective of the ego, and if there's anything you'll want to know about the ego, it's that you are free to ignore it. Let's look realistically at what humans can do. Physically, the human vehicle isn't the strongest, meanest, baddest, or even the longest living of vehicles available in reality. But it is the most capable in the sense that it is the least bound by its form, or alternatively, is the most enabled by its form. Your ability to express yourself and act on your own free will is far more developed and capable in a human body than in any other living being. No other plant, animal, fungi, microbe, or anything else is as uniquely expressive as the human body. Try writing a symphony as a jellyfish, or programming a computer with dog hands. Jellyfish and dogs are great at being jellyfish and dogs, but their capacity for personal expression and creative diversity is limited by their forms. They have neither the hardware nor the software to accomplish acts of expression and creation on the level at which human vehicles are capable. The basic truth of reality is that the human form is simply the most capable vehicle because it has the physical equipment necessary for such. Humans not only have hands and highly articulate voices, but they also have a sophisticated enough brain and nervous system to really put their physical abilities to work. Furthermore, human vehicles come with a peculiar feature known as the ego. Ego is just another way of identifying the uniquely human sense of personal self and identity. It takes an extremely sophisticated hardware system to effectively run an ego program or function, and for all intents and purposes, we can pretty much limit our discussion of the ego to the human form. Lots of egos, out of bizarre tendencies for sentimentality and supposed spiritual values, like to claim that other animals and living beings have a sense of self and identity, but at best, realistically, it is only rudimentary in form. The ego makes many things possible in the human vehicle that are effectively impossible in other living vehicles. Only vehicles with egos can ask themselves, who am I? Where did I come from? What is the point of existence? What should I do with myself? These are all questions that reflect a basic self-awareness and a division of experience into self-identified subject and perceived or imagined objects. The ego also makes contemplation possible in that the ego allows for the individual to project thoughts into unreal situations. For example, the ego can think about the past, ponder the future, or imagine all kinds of possible scenarios that are not actually present. Other vehicles do not have this ability. Other vehicles are only aware of what is actually present within their energetic environments. Nothing more, nothing less. Humans, on the other hand, not only have to deal with what is present within reality, but also with what the ego thinks, believes, desires, imagines, wishes, fears, hates, envies, etc., 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 a great deal of which may or may not have anything to do with what is actually present and realistic within reality. In other words, it is very easy for the ego to pay more attention to its fantasies than to reality. Of course, this feature of the ego is also what makes possible the endless variety of human expression, creativity, and invention. The ego is not limited to what is actual within reality, for it can imagine how things might be otherwise. It can imagine things that don't exist. And every now and then, the ego finds ways to make these imaginings real. There was a time, for example, when chairs didn't exist. At some point, some human ego came up with a brilliant idea of a chair, and then went about using the vehicle of the body and other materials present within reality to bring it into being. Through this magical process, something that was only an idea came into being and now exists in reality. Virtually all of human culture and achievement has followed along this same process, and the vehicles that are currently in existence within reality get to benefit from the results of these ego-based processes. For example, this body that is reading these words didn't invent the personal computer or word processing, but it does get to benefit from these creative expressions of previous human vehicles, and they're all the product of egos wondering, what if? And then taking realistic action on those thoughts and ponderings. However, since the ego isn't bound to limitations in thought and contemplation the way that other vehicles are, it is also prone to attachment to things that simply aren't real. The ego can imagine all kinds of things that don't exist. This is very helpful in creative enterprises, but can be very challenging when egos become committed to false ideas, sloppy thinking, or fantasies, and willfully mistakes them for reality. In the most extreme cases, such can lead to insanity or delusional thinking and acting, though it is important to recognize that all egos are committed to false ideas to a greater or lesser degree. The primary delusion is the delusion of a separate self, which is one of the essential functions of the ego and its main goal. To help put all of this into perspective, let's spend some time discussing the human vehicle's energetic system and how all the parts function together to create a uniquely human experience. Energetics of the human vehicle. Just as with all things that exist within reality, the human vehicle is basically an energetic system with certain functions, parameters, and possibilities. All of reality is a massively complex and highly sophisticated network of interrelated energetic processes of change, transformation, and evolution. In the most basic sense, this is what you are. The entirety of the energetic process, for you are fundamentally energy. All things that exist can therefore be described according to their energetic processes, and the human vehicle is no different. It's far more complex than an electron or even a plant, but it's still just an energetic process. Living in reality means living within the energies that are actually present in reality. Living in fantasy means living with energetic projections and illusions that only exist in the mind. Evolution is an ongoing process and is one through which greater complexity and sophistication is able to develop within the system through continual energetic exchanges and transformations. It took approximately 14 billion years, give or take a few, for the human vehicle to evolve out of this process. The result is the most versatile vehicle possible for your reality enjoyment. The human vehicle, as with most other mammals, vertebrates, and other life forms that exhibit bilateral symmetry, a very basic energetic blueprint, and one of several options such as radial symmetry, branch symmetry, or bilateral symmetry, has its main energy centers stacked along a central column. The central column runs directly down the middle of the body and goes from genitals to the top of the head. This is not a metaphysical or subtle description of energy systems, as is commonly discussed in religions and spiritual traditions, which are merely constructs of the ego. Many egos have mistakenly decided that energy is somehow different from the physical, but this is, of course, a completely false distinction. The physical is energy in highly structured and coherent form. The energy centers in the human vehicle either process and express energy or they generate energy. Understanding the difference can help users keep the energy flow smooth, authentic, and real. Let's deal with energy generators first. In the human vehicle, there are 3 centers that generate energy. These are the brain, heart, and sexual organs. As long as the vehicle is alive, and barring some major surgery or physical accident or trauma, these centers will continue to generate energy. The brain, sense organs, and central nervous system. It is the sophistication of the human brain that allows for complex thought and ideation. The brain is not the source of consciousness, as consciousness simply exists and is fundamental to the nature of reality, but it does generate an electrical field when operating properly. At the current evolutionary stage of reality, the human brain is the most sophisticated object yet to evolve and is the most capable of processing the vast intelligence that is you. It is the only object known to be sophisticated enough for you to have a paradoxical experience of yourself as both God, the nature of all that is, and as a unique individual with a personal perspective that is self-aware and self-motivated. That's a pretty fancy trick. It's also the entire purpose of the evolution of reality. The human body, with its amazingly sophisticated brain, is the ideal God vehicle as it is the most capable of all vehicles currently in existence within reality. Even though the human body's energetic blueprint, DNA, is 99% identical to a chimp's, the upgrade is logarithmic in nature. Compared to other animals, the ability of the human brain is off the scale. The brain functions by generating and processing energy. Ideas, concepts, inner dialogue, language, imagination, visualization, abstraction are all expressions of energy. The human brain is always busy categorizing, cataloging, identifying, conceptualizing, etc., etc. As this is its nature, it's virtually impossible to stop. It is an ongoing energetic process. The brain, via the nervous system, is also the processing center for the senses and sense organs. The sense organs receive energetic impressions from the environment and translate those energies into personal experience. What is seen, felt, heard, tasted, smelled, etc. Taken together, the sense organs provide the energetic data necessary for the individual to create a virtual reality of sense impressions that are taken collectively as experience. In the absence of direct energetic stimulus, the brain will tend to create its own projected realities, such as during dreaming, sensory deprivation, hallucinogenic experiences, and in severely malfunctioning cases, such as schizophrenia. Reality check. The default setting for the brain is something along the lines of inquire, explore, observe, wonder, and imagine. Small children are useful as an example. Observe how children engage the world around them, especially when small. Children want to get into everything, explore, learn, and play. They want to know everything about everything and have extremely active imaginations, which they use to explore possibilities and make sense out of their world. They also keep their focus almost exclusively on the present moment and engage in very little projection or speculation. As they develop and start to gain a sense of themselves, these default settings start to shift into fear, caution, the need to be right or good, and also start subtly manipulating others to get what they want for themselves. These are the beginnings of ego formation, and children begin to spend more time in projections and start to develop concepts of themselves as individuals. Another default setting for the brain is to mimic and is connected to the observe function. Children take up new habits, ideas, and modes of expression through observing others and mimicking what they observe. Mimesis is probably the most powerful force in the shaping and developing of a sense of self and ego structure. The heart. The heart is the next primary generator of energy in the body and is the central processor of emotions or feelings. Emotions and feelings are more direct impressions of energy than the more abstracted impressions and concepts utilized by the brain in its energetic processes. In this sense, the heart can be understood as the primary sense organ of the body, as it processes the body's relationship to everything else in a very direct, energetic manner that is not filtered by the conceptual constructs of the brain. It always informs the individual about what is real, though this process can be disrupted and distorted by excessive exertions of control by the ego, a topic we will return to below. The heart accomplishes this sensory task through a rather large electromagnetic field that it generates that works holographically to feel its way through reality and inform the organism of what kinds of energies it is encountering within reality. As such, it is the basic fountain of life for the individual vehicle and mediates all experiences between the individual vehicle and that which it encounters either internally or externally. Reality check. The default setting for the heart is universal, unconditional, absolute love. Love is the basic energy of existence. and it has neither subject nor object. It just is. It is the energy out of which everything else arises and can also be equated with truth, for that is what it is. All other emotional states are variations on the energy of boundless love. All emotions are energies that arise in the context of subject and object and are therefore dualistic, while universal love is unitary and non-dualistic. For example, love for chocolate involves a subject who loves chocolate and the object of chocolate and is therefore dualistic. Again, small children serve as an example of this reality. Little babies have no fear, no judgment, no expectations, no attachments, and no aversions. They just interact with everything in love and openness. Through experience, they learn both realistic and imagined limitations on this basic energy. The sexual organs. The next primary generator of energy is the sexual organs. This is the energy center that not only ensures that the evolutionary process continues, but also provides energetic opportunity for individual bodies to experience profound levels of pleasure, bliss, and fulfillment and satisfaction. All living beings are sexual in their own way, though sexual and reproductive methods and habits vary greatly across living beings. While being embodied in a human vehicle, you can expect that sexual energies will inform a major part of your existence and will be an ongoing motivational factor in choosing what to do with yourself. Though countless religious and spiritual traditions try to subvert, quash, or otherwise transcend or transmute sexual energy, these are all just interferences by the ego. Sex and sexual energy just is. Reality check. Sexual energy is an expression of universal love and therefore does not have a specific object. Energetically, men and women tend to be sexually drawn to each other, but this is not a given. Ultimately, people are sexual and not necessarily heterosexual or homosexual, though many egos would like to make it so. Sex isn't a moral issue. Actually, morality and ethics in general are purely products of the ego, and as such are imaginary constructs. The mouth and digestive tract. In addition to the 3 generative energy centers, the human vehicle comes with 2 interconnected energy processing centers of the throat, mouth, and the gut digestive tract. It is with the mouth that the human vehicle is able to gather the necessary energy from its environment to sustain and nourish its physical form. The energy produced by the 3 productive energy centers of brain, heart, and sexual organs is not sufficient to sustain the vehicle. They only provide the operation functions of the vehicle. Food must be consumed in order to keep the vehicle functioning properly. The food taken in through the mouth is then processed in the gut, distributed to the body via the heart and blood, and excess is expelled. It can be a bit messy, but that's what's required. The throat mouth can also function as an expressive energy center, in that it is the human vehicle's primary method of communication, from the simple cry of pain to the most abstract expression of human thought and intellect. In doing so, it is not generating energy, but rather expressing and releasing energy that is experienced internally in the body and mind of the vehicle. Really, the mouth and throat is a sophisticated input-output mechanism that moves energy from inside to outside and vice versa. Reality check. The default setting for the expressive energy center is be honest and authentic. The natural tendency is for the human being to say and express what it truly thinks and feels. As the sense of self develops through the formation of the ego, individuals tend to structure and shape their expression according to what they think they should do or say, as emphasized by their parents, family, and culture. Every human becomes a product of culture very rapidly in his or her development, and this tends to compromise the individual's commitment to honest and authentic expression. It instead promotes culturally and socially acceptable modes of expression and communication. The ego situates the self in context with others and quickly chooses to concern itself with what others think, and the emphasis shifts from pure self-expression to being accepted, respected, and appreciated by others who may or may not have a commitment to honest and authentic expression. In other mammals and similarly structured animals and living beings, these energetic centers basically function on automatic pilot. Living purely in the present, other living beings just follow their energy and do what they do. However, the sophistication of the human vehicle gives rise to the ego, which means a sense of self, can and does insert itself into virtually all of these energetic processes in the human vehicle. We are thus now ready to discuss the ego in more detail and see how it can either help or hinder the human vehicle in its ongoing job of processing and expressing energy. Musical interlude number 2. Climax of the absurd.